This is Gary Atensi with CNTV, and today we're in Denver, Colorado. I am here with Squash Compression. Since 2011, they have been providing a patented technology that increases efficiency of data storage and transmission. I am here with Mike Meadows, who is the CEO, as well as the inventor of this technology. Mike, let's start off a little bit about yourself. Share with me a little bit how you got involved in this industry. I understand you've been dabbling in it since the late 80s, back as a fifth grader, learning about this technology. Obviously, you basically have been part of many different occupations throughout there. We're talking about helping Fortune 250 companies, basically as an architect consultant. Share with me how this passion got started for you.
So, like you said, I've been, for most of my career, a web developer, doing work for other companies, and it's about 8 years ago I read an article that stated that it's impossible to compress random data. And so, in fact, to even attempt to do so implied that you suffered from a psychological condition known as misapplication of intuition. But I tried anyway for about 8 years and never succeeded. But then at the end of that, I asked myself, well, is there anything I've learned so far that I can apply practically? And since I was a web developer, the logical application of that was on the web. And so 8 years later, never solved the initial problem that I tried to, but came up with something else that was a spin-off from lessons learned.
That is amazing. I mean, one thing that has changed over the past 5-10 years is the consumers are demanding more data. They're demanding to be engaged out there. Obviously, a lot of data needs to come back and forth. Is the need for that compression even more necessary today than it was, 15 years ago or when you first started dabbling with it?
Absolutely. If you look at the statistics, the number of mobile subscribers is expected to reach 9 billion in 2017. And you just look at the amount of data that's being transferred from those 9 billion subscribers, it's about 15 times what's being transferred today. So the growth is exponential as opposed to linear or anything else like that.
Amazing. I mean, so basically, you've created something here that, first of all, this is a software solution. It's not even a hardware solution, so it can be basically applied to an existing server. Is that correct?
That is correct. So if you have a web server that's hosting your website, it's a software installation on top of your existing hardware. If you have a mobile device, it's the download of an application from Android, or the Android marketplace, or from the Apple iTunes. And then for our storage edition, for the image storage, it's really just a software installation on top of your existing infrastructure.
Interesting. Let's talk about some of these solutions. Not only we as consumers, we demand more content, but we demand it quicker. I mean, as soon as I click that button, I want to see it right away. I want to experience it right away. This is really an area where seconds can be costly. Tell me about your website edition and how you're able to help.
And those are our biggest value propositions to our customers who either have an ad revenue site or an e-commerce website. Every 1 second that it takes for a page to load reduces your sales conversion rate by 7% and your customer satisfaction rate by 16%. So it's very important for them to make sure their website loads as quickly as possible. Some other statistics, if I may, half of all users expect a web page to load in 3 seconds or less, and if it doesn't, they're bouncing over to your competitor.
I believe that. I know for myself, if I'm on my smartphone, I go to a site, if I have a problem with it, I hate to admit it, but I won't even go back. I mean, quite honestly, not only did you decrease the chances of conversion with me, but you killed them entirely.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're trying to solve.
Some of the things out there, obviously people are accessing data anymore, or websites, not just from laptops or computers in an office or a home, but from smartphones, from tablets. Tell me basically about the mobile edition that you've got, and how does that help?
So the mobile edition you can download from, like I said, the Apple iTunes Store or the Android Store, and it's basically an app that lets you browse the web. About 7 times faster on average, depends on what kind of websites you go to. And it cuts your data plan in half on average. So one of the coolest parts of the app, I think, is you can view your savings, which pulls up a nice graphic of what you would have used without our app and what you're using with our app.
That is great. I mean, you've taken a challenge that is out there, which is basically to increase speed, yet at the same time to be able to decrease cost and even bandwidth.
Exactly.
How long did it take you to actually put this together where it was an application that anyone could use?
So it's kind of funny. We started our patent process back in 2011, and we did the fast track, and it was approved almost a year later to the day. And at that point, we still had no software. So I started with the website edition. It took about 6 months to make it pretty solid. And then as it's been out in the marketplace over the last few years, it's just kind of becoming stronger and more bulletproof. The mobile edition was kind of a spin-off of that.
Sure.
So we're really just making it look like every website in the world is running our software by putting it on the mobile device. And then the storage edition was the third pivot of that technology that applies to the digital healthcare with medical record images.
Let me ask you this: as a business owner myself, many companies out there, we know our websites, we see the aesthetics, we know how to get around on them, but as far as the back end goes, there's a lot of things we don't know. Why should people be concerned about latency? Explain to them what that is.
Well, latency is basically the time it takes your device to reach the server that's hosting the website, and the time it takes for the data from the server to come back to your device. So here in the United States, if your prospects or your customers are local here in the U.S., it's not really too bad. But if you're hosting a website here in the States that's being accessed by somebody in Australia, maybe latency certainly becomes an issue.
Interesting. Because of the fact that this is not hardware, you basically created a way where people can try this risk-free. I mean, they can basically try out a trial and see this not only in seconds but in milliseconds, if you will.
Absolutely. So we offer a 30-day free trial. Okay. That's more of a sales and marketing thing. It can, if it takes you 60 days or 90 days to make a good decision, a good informed decision, that's okay too. But absolutely, we can. Basically, what we want to do is measure your performance of your website without our technology, and then measure it with, and then put the two side by side so that you have all the data you need to make an informed decision. Is this a good fit for me? Is it not a good fit for me? And go from there.
So you specialize in the wow factor. I mean, people look at that and they're able to see right there for their own eyes of basically what's going on. You have a great little tool right there on the website, which you can actually put in your website address and check that out as well. How do people set that up to use?
So right now, you would have to contact one of our salespeople because it requires a key, which is private. We just want to walk people through the process and educate them so they know what they're looking at. But absolutely, once we give you that key, you can put in any web page that you like, and we can show you within about plus or minus 5% accuracy what kind of performance improvements we could have on your website.
Excellent. From a consumer standpoint, basically a website that I'm accessing off my smartphone, if it's not optimized for that smartphone, is it actually even using more data from my plan and possibly even draining my battery?
Absolutely it is. I could give an example if you'd like. If you look at the size of a desktop monitor, for example, you would, on your website, you would send down larger pictures, which naturally take up more bandwidth, more storage.
Sure.
But on a smaller screen, a mobile device, why would you send down a picture that's this big for a screen that's this big? So non-optimized websites, they do drain your battery. They do, hit your data plan pretty hard. So.
That is amazing. So this really works for people who are, regardless of the connection, be it 4G, 3G, or even slower.
Correct. Everybody.
Everybody across the board. Like you mentioned earlier before there of enterprises. It's more than just websites. We're talking about storage. I mean, this is something that's changed tremendously in the past 4 or 5 years. Cloud storage. Explain to me, is this basically an architecture that is added to what they have?
Yes. And so if you look at typically how storage works, you have disks. They could be network attached storage. Okay. They could be a storage area network, or they could be direct attached storage. And so they're going to have these storage arrays or disks that store their images. And so what we have is a piece of software that connects or attaches itself to those disks or those arrays. And as the data comes in to the device, we do our optimization. And then as the data is retrieved from the device, we stitch it all back together again, send it back out.
So we're talking about organizations like that of hospitals, the medical field that are using JPEGs, bitmaps, larger TIFFs. This is happening behind the scenes without them even noticing.
Absolutely. Our solution is agnostic of the application or the user or even the storage disks or the storage arrays.
Excellent. Viewers, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see, first of all, is their website. On the website, go take a look, but check out the testimonials, because basically these are people who have been able to see side-by-side results, basically understanding that this is obviously keeping the consumers happy, at the same time being able to engage them, and also basically increasing the bottom line here because you're keeping costs down at the same time. Many owners out there are probably not asking the question as far as how fast is my page load. You're basically saying we probably should be asking that if we want to engage the consumer.
Absolutely. We live in a microwave society where, people want instant gratification. And that statistic I mentioned before, if your website does not load in 3 seconds or less, they will bounce to your competition. And like you said, maybe even never come back. So
I believe that. As a leader in web content acceleration, data optimization, you yourself have to keep on the cutting edge. It's a constantly changing industry. At the beginning of the year here, 2016, you launched there on Apple the Internet app. Has that been received very well?
So it hasn't been, well, I can't really answer that question. The interesting thing about those marketplaces is that, if you're one app out of 1.5 million on iTunes, you're one app out of 50 million on Android. So you can't rely on those marketplaces to market and promote for you. You have to do that yourself. But we've really been hyper-focusing on digital healthcare and the storage solution, just because that seems to be the sweet spot right now.
Absolutely. Not only that, but the needs are different for each business out there, be it white glove support or what you call rolled sleeved consulting, anything pretty much in between. How does that all begin for the client? Is this a consultation that begins with you?
We're very consultative. We like to make sure that we understand, the challenges they're facing, the pain that they're facing, and really make sure that we can either show them that we're not a good fit for them, sure, which we can't be everything to everyone, right? Or that we're a great fit for them and that we can help them decrease costs, improve performance, all those things. So a lot of our customers have very robust organizations where they have the tools and the resources to allocate toward, assessing if it's a good fit or not. And some don't. So the ones who don't, we like to go in and really be consultative and help them and educate them through the process.
Excellent. Let me ask you this. You've been involved in this particular company here for a short period of time. You have launched many companies pretty much in this industry. The idea that you're able to basically delight clients, reduce costs, boost the profit of many companies out there, has this been rewarding for you?
Absolutely. IT is kind of a thankless job a lot of times. You never hear from people unless something's not working or something's wrong. So this has been an exception in that I think only one person we've talked to out of several thousand has actually said, that this isn't true, it's too good to be true, I'm not interested, which really proves that this is becoming critical for companies, especially with storage and 9 billion devices by 2017, 15 times as much bandwidth. It's been very rewarding.
I know for our own company, storage, we use so much. We're not talking about megabytes anymore. We're talking terabytes, and that can be costly over just a few years. Yet every company out there is dealing with that in some way.
Absolutely.
That is great. Viewers, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see last time is their website. On the website, basically, you can set up right there and ask for a key, basically to check your website, not only if seconds are counting, but maybe milliseconds are counting. And like you said, the consumers know if it's loading or not, and they're basically going to let you know by possibly disappearing, which is definitely something you don't want. You can also check out there many testimonials of people who have helped out, that they've been able to help with, and organizations out there. That again is Squash Compression, located right here in Denver, Colorado. This is Gary Latency with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.